Hey folks, welcome to the second episode of Power Tips. This series is all about me teaching you how to become a better Power Platform developer. In this episode, we are going to look at all the tools that are needed for our day-to-day activities as a developer. So let's get started. So the first thing that we would want to do is download the SDK, which contains several tools that we need in our day-to-day operations. So in order to download the tool, what you want to do is go to XrmTools and then just that's it, right? No .com, nothing. It's just XrmTools. You can also use cds.tools. Either one of them works. And once you are in this on this website, you have several other options as well. But the most important thing that cds.tools or xrm.tools offer is the ease of downloading the SDK tools. So here, SDK tools, you can go and click on this link which says get the SDK tools. Now here you have several options. One, they have specified the steps that you need to perform in order to download the SDK via npm. Now, if you don't want to go through that, you can also get the PowerShell script that you can run using PowerShell and download the SDK tools that you need. The most easiest approach that I always feel is the ability to download the SDK via the zip file that they provide. So they're running a backend job that goes and checks for the changes that are available on NuGet and then creates a zip file every day. That is what it says here. And then you can just click on this download SDK zip file, and then all the tools that you need are available over here. So let's go and download this zip file. Once it's downloaded, we need to head over to the download folder where we can find the downloaded zip file. And before we extract the zip file, we have to do one more thing. We have to open up the properties and click on unblock and then click on OK. Then go and extract the content in whatever path you want. So I'm going to just keep it over here, but don't extract the content in your download folder. Keep it somewhere where it is handy. Now that we have the folder extracted, let's go inside the folder and look at some of the tools. So as you can see, there is few folders available to you. One is called the configuration migration. The configuration migration tool helps you to migrate the configuration data from one environment to other environment. And this is the data migration utility. So let's just open it up. So as you can see, you have three options. It's pretty basic, simple, straightforward user interface. It gives you the interface in a way it's a step kind of a format where before you extract the data and then import the data in another environment, you have to first create a schema. So let's go ahead and then create the schema. So now you have to log into your environment. Now based on online or on-prem, you would select those options. So on-prem is these options, online is this option. Now I'm going to use the online interface, and I'm not going to select any of these options, and I'm going to rely on Microsoft login prompt. So once I click on login, it's going to prompt me for my username and password. So let me add my username. That did not work. Let me try again. So my username and then my password. Okay. Now what it's going to do is it's going to authenticate you and then try to fetch the entity metadata. Once it fetches all the entity metadata and the solution information, it is all loaded for you. So next what we are going to do is we are going to actually go and select our solution. So I'm going to use the solution that we had used in the previous video called Power Tips. And then Power Tips has two entities in it, Superhero and Superhero Power. So I'm going to use Superhero today. And then these are all the attributes that are available in my Superhero. I could pick and choose all the attributes, or I can omit some of the attributes from the schema itself. So what does this mean is whenever the schema is generated, the export would only include the attributes that you are selecting here. Rest of the attributes will be excluded from the export, which means it will not be migrated from one instance to the other instance. So now these two buttons are sometimes confusing. So what it means is if you've selected any fields here and you're excluding any fields, then you want to choose add fields option. Whereas add entity means it will add the entire entity as is. So if I'm adding the entity, let's just add the entity first. You will see that created by, created on that I have unselected would still be part of fields. Yeah. Now let me clear the selection and then let me add the fields. Now once I use the add fields option, you can see that created by and created on are not part of the schema. So the next thing you can do is you can go to the next entity and then do the same thing. I'm not going to go through the next entity. I'm just going to have Superhero as my entities in my schema. Next, I can hit save and export. And this will prompt me for the location where I want to save my schema XML. I'm just going to keep my schema XML over here and then call it a Superhero schema. Then save it. So the schema save is complete. Then it prompts you to go to the second step, that is exporting the data. So I'm going to say yes, and then it automatically loads the export screen for us. So in this export screen, it already took our schema file that we had just saved. If you come here from the second step that we had seen earlier on the screen, you can always pick the file from here as well. Now we have to then select the file for where with the data. So this is just having the schema in it. Now we want to select the file where we want to save the data. So clicking on this button gives you the option of where you want to save your data file. It gives you the option of data.zip. So we're just gonna rename this to say superhero underscore data and then save it. And that's the data file. Now once we say export data, it's gonna run the schema validation and then export the data into that data file. Now you can see that it took 720 records and then exported them out. Okay. Then you can say exit because you have exported the data. And then the next step is to import the data. So for importing the data, same thing, you click on import data, say continue, log into your instance, and let me log in again. And now it will ask you for the same zip file that you had created in step 2. So if you create this, and then you can say import data. Okay, so it's that easy. The second tool, plugin registration tool. So the plugin registration tool, you can click on create new connection to login as you did earlier as well. And same thing will follow here too. Log in with the Microsoft login prompt, provide my username, provide my password, and then once I'm logged in, I get list of all the plugin assemblies that are available in that instance. These are all the plugin assemblies that are available in the instance. Now you can expand some of the plugins. So for example, if I want to see what are the details of this assembly, I can expand it. I can see all the plugins that are available in this assembly. So plugins are nothing but the plugin classes. So there are class files that are created of type iPlugin, and those become your plugin classes or plugins. And then each plugin can have steps. Steps are nothing but your events that needs to be registered on that particular plugin. So plugin is the piece of code or piece of a class file which can be invoked on certain plugins, on certain events that happen inside of Dynamics. And events could be, so let's register a new step, and events are messages, and those could be create, update, delete, retrieve, and there are a lot of messages inside of Dynamics that you can write your steps. And then you select your primary entity, which could be so you have to first select the message. I'm going to say create, and then I'm going to say superhero, which is pmav superhero. So everything works on schema level. So these are all the entities based on that schema, pmav superhero. And then I can either run this in user context, or I can run it as a system user. I can run this as the calling user. I can also assign the execution order. These are the event pipeline. Then there are execution modes, which are asynchronous and synchronous. Okay, so that's all about plugin registration tool. There are a few other options. I don't want to go into details of each and everything, but I'm just giving you the overview of all the tools that are available in for Power Platform developer. The second thing, or the next tool that we are going to look at, is called Power Platform tool for Visual Studio. And this is the link for installing that provides you the instruction of how to install and how to use it in Visual Studio. So to install Power Platform tools, you have to go to your Visual Studio, go to your extensions, and go to manage extensions. Inside manage extensions, you have to select online and Visual Studio Marketplace, and then search for Power Platform. And then this is the Power Platform tools. Download it, and then this would tell you that it's scheduled for the install, but it only happens when you restart your Visual Studio So let's just close this Visual Studio instance, and then wait for the VSIX installer to kick in. So that's the VSIX installer installing the extension. So it shows up to install Power Platform tools. You modify it, and now it's started to install. So now the modification is completed. Power Platform tools are installed. So let's go and open up Visual Studio. So you won't be able to see this Power Platform tools anywhere in the menu unless and until you actually create a project of type Power Platform. So to do that, you have to go to files and then say new project, and then in the search box search for Power Platform, and then you can see the solution template showing up over here. You can click next, provide your solution and the project name, and click create. It will then ask you to connect to your instance. Now, as I have used this tool previously and I have connected to an instance, it is showing me the option to reconnect to the same instance. You would get the same screen that we have seen earlier as well, where you have to enter your where you get the ability to select on-prem, online, and then based on that you can log in into your instance. I'm gonna use the same login credentials, so I'm gonna use the same connection. And then once you have logged in, it will give you the option whether you want to start your solution with from whatever is available in Dataverse, or do you want to create a new solution itself. So I can say start from Dataverse. Now if you click on start from Dataverse, it's gonna ask you to log in and then select the solution. So I'm going to select the same power tip solution that I had used before. And the next thing it's going to ask you is whether you want to use existing items from the solution or whether you want to create a brand new template. So I can say brand new template. I can say, okay, I want to add a new plugin project and then click on next. Then it asks me for the plugin project name. So in here, I can type in powertapes.plugins. So this is going to be my project name and then done. This will go and create the project and the solution on that particular location that you have selected earlier. So now it's creating the project. Now you can open up your Solution Explorer and you can see that the plugin project was created for you. So now that you have already opened up a project which is of type Power Platform, you can go to Tools and then you will have an option to say connect to Dataverse. If you open that up, it will give you the same login screen and you can say reconnect to the Dataverse. You can say yes, and it will try to log in to the Dataverse environment that you had selected. Same thing here, it will ask you to select the solution. So I'm going to select Power Tips, then done. This is now refreshing the in background, and sometimes you will see that the Visual Studio does not respond. So don't rush it, let it complete the refresh. Otherwise, sometimes I've seen that it just crashes the Visual Studio overall and you have to start the process all over again. So this is the Power Platform Explorer, and you can see all the tables from the developer or that instance or the environment that you have connected with. You can see the tables. You have the option, you can, if you right click it, you have the option of creating a plugin for that particular entity or even creating a class for that entity as well. Moving on, the next tool is XrmToolBox. So to download XrmToolBox, you can go to XrmToolBox.com, and then you have this button over here which says download latest version. You can click on it. It downloads the zip file that is needed. Once the file is downloaded, you can open up your download folder and then you can see the XrmToolBox zip file available to you. Now, same thing what we did with sdk.zip file. You have to go to the properties, unblock it, and then extract the contents. Again, same thing, do not extract it in the download folder. Make sure that you are extracting it in the proper location. Once you go to the XrmToolBox, you can run the executable. So once you open up the executable file for XrmToolBox, this is the screen that you would see initially. I've already installed some tools on my version, but in your version you would have the bare minimum plugins or tools available in the XrmToolBox. So you have the ability to pick and choose which tools you need and then install them in your version of XrmToolBox. You can also filter the tools that you need based on the categories that are available over here, or you can search the tool by the title or the author as well. So if you search for Jonas, you should see all the tools that he has created. So once you have installed the tools that you need, you can go to the tools folder, and then you should see all the tools that are available in XrmToolBox. So to create the connections, you go to configuration and then click on manage connections, and you can see all your connections over here. You can either edit them, clone them, delete them, do whatever you want, or you can create a new connection over here. Now initially you won't have any connections, so assuming that, you click on new connection, and there are several options available over here. I normally use, and which is the most easiest I feel, because it handles MFA as well, is the Microsoft login control. So for Microsoft login control, again, if you're using IFD, you have to use IFD over here. But then if you are not going to use IFD, you can always keep the default configuration, and then you can click on open Microsoft login control. Now this is the same login control that we have seen earlier in the demo, where you can select either on-prem or Office 365. If you're selecting Office 365, you can keep all these options unchecked, so don't check any of them, and that helps you with the MFA authentication as well. So that if you don't check any of this and then click on login, it gives you the Microsoft login prompt that we have seen earlier too. So logging in, provide your username, provide your password, and then here on this screen, if there is a MFA enabled, then you would get an alert to approve it, and then once you have approved it, then you can see all the organizations that are available. So I'm going to select the one that I want, and then the connection is validated. Okay, I am not going to create the connection because I already have one. So the next thing that we want to talk about is you would not see the XrmToolBox the way I'm seeing it. It's because there are some options and settings options. So you can go to settings, and then you can choose your theme. You can choose your startup page, how you want to show the startup page. You can also say how you want to show your list of all the tools. So list of tools, I've selected small over here, and that's why I'm seeing it this way. I can also select how I want to display my list of tools, whether it is alphabetical or by rating or by most used, however I want it to be. So those are kind of some general settings. You can also check out where your XrmToolBox is installed. You can also check out where your storage is for the XrmToolBox, or storage is nothing but your plugins and everything, wherever they are saved, it's all over here. There are some assemblies that are available over here and information around them. And yeah, so now that's all about settings. The other important thing, if you have noticed on my start page, I have certain tools that are marked as favorite. These are the tools that I normally use on my day-to-day basis. So if you are using some tools on day-to-day basis, like Fetch XML Builder, then the way you favorite them is to go to tools and then search for the tool name. So let's say I want to favorite attribute manager. So to favorite attribute manager, I right click it and then say add to favorite. Or I could search for tools like custom API manager, and then right click it and then say add to favorite. Now once I do that, I go to start page, and I should be able to see custom API manager listed in my favorites. Okay, so moving on, the next tool is called Level Up. Now this tool is actually an extension in Google Chrome and also available in Microsoft Edge. Now because I'm using Chrome, I'm going to show you how you can install this tool on Chrome. The process would be exactly the same for Microsoft Edge as well. So first thing is you would go to your options and then go to more tools and then extensions. Inside extensions, you can go and expand this blade over here and then open the Chrome Web Store. Once you're in the Chrome Web Store, you can search for Level Up. And this is a tool created by Natraj, very excellent tool. You click on it and then you would get an option to add in Chrome. Now once it's added, and you would get this rocket kind of symbol over here. Okay, now it normally doesn't work on any other page except if you're on the Power Platform page. So I am on the Power Platform page here, and if I click on this tool, I have various options. So if I'm on view, I can go to view and I can say blur fields, and all the fields are blurred, right? So awesome. So if I'm doing any demos, this is a very good feature to have. I can say open new window, and then it would take this view and open it in a new window. So coming back to the same window again, few other options in the view is quick find fields. So you can click on quick find fields and it will show you all the quick find fields for that particular view. Let's open up a record. So if I am on the form and if I click on the tool again, I get this form options, and there are a lot of forms options, and blur field is again one of the option. But the main thing that I like the most is the guard mode. So for example, now you can see that these are required fields. Yeah. Now if I don't want, or let's say I want to create a new record, click on new record, and then I try to save the record. It tells me that these fields are required fields. I can click on this tool, I can say guard mode. It removes that required field permissions, and now without even filling the name and publisher, I can save the record. And there it's saved without name, without publisher. I was able to save the record. That's what the guard mode is all about. It gives you ultimate power on your form. The other cool thing that it has is showing the logical names. So if you're on the form and you are trying to write a code where you want to grab the publisher name, but or this value of this field, but you don't know what the schema name is. So normally you would have to go to your customization and then check what the publisher schema name is. But if you're on this form already, you can go to this tool, click on logical names, and it provides you with all the schema name associated to those attributes. You can look at all the change fields if there are any changes. So let's say I changed this field to yes. Now I have unsaved changes, and go on this tool, and then I can say show me all the change fields, and it just highlights that field. There are several other options. I don't want to go through all the options, but another cool feature before I move on is looking at all the fields that are available on that particular entity. So if I click on all fields, it shows me all the attributes that are available on that entity, and it gives me a search ability as well. So the next tools are actually useful if you're using Visual Studio Code. So if you're using Visual Studio Code for your day-to-day activities or for development, you can go to extensions and then search for Power Platform extensions. So Power Platform extensions is an extension pack that provides you with 4 tools that are really helpful for a developer. It installs Power Platform tools, it installs Dataverse DevTools, PCF Builder tool, and then Power Apps Portal Helper as well. So if I'm opening up a folder, I have initiated this project using Dataverse DevTools. If I go to Dataverse DevTools, I can see the connections and the files that are associated or linked using this tool as well. So I can see these 3 files are connected, rest all the files are not connected. I can use a smart match that goes and looks at all the files that are connected and then shows you which file is up to date and which file is not up to date. You can do additional connections via this method over here, where you can right click and then say link to an existing web resource. So those are all the tools within VS Code. The next tool that comes in handy is and useful for debugging your local files is Fiddler. So once you have installed Fiddler, there are certain settings that you want to do. So the first thing that you want to do is go to your tools, options, and go to HTTPS, and then click on capture HTTPS connect, and then also decrypt HTTPS traffic as well. Okay. Then you can either capture your traffic using F12 or you can disable capture of traffic using F12 as well. Again, I don't want to go into all the details of Fiddler, but it is very good tool for debugging your local files without even uploading your local files to Dataverse. We would be seeing how to use Fiddler in future videos. So, but then this is a very good tool to have on your machine. The next tool is Postman. So this is another tool that helps you debug web APIs and even some of the features of Dataverse as well. So when you have installed Postman, first thing that I would recommend you is go and create your environments properly. So if you have dev, test, QA, you would have different environments created over here. So once you have a query created, so to create a query, you can either click on this new request, you can create your query over here. You can also use fetch XML builder to create your queries, whether it is get, post, whatever it is. We can create who am I over here, and because you have the environments created, you can change the environments here. So you can either pick dev, test, QA, whatever it is. And then let's look at how you can create your environments for Dataverse. So if I'm going to environments again, I can click on environments. I can provide my name, so demo, and then go to your browser and then search for Postman Dataverse. And this is the URL. It will also be available in the video's description as well. And then it gives you the option of how you can set up your Postman environment. Now all these details would also be all these links will also be provided in video's description as well. So you take in your URL, you replace your domain with whatever domain you have, then you put the same client ID, version, web API URL, callback, and auth URL, and then you create your environment with this variable name. So if I'm going back, you can see the same thing being configured over here. You have I have my URL, client ID, versions, and everything else. Once you have your environment created with all these variables, you can go to collections, create a collection. So I can create a demo collection over here. And then in the authorization, you can say OAuth 2 authorization. So if you are doing this for the first time, as I have done this already before, everything will be blank for you. So you can provide your token name. Grant type will be implicit. Then you can give your callback URL. So if you start typing in call, so if you start with opening braces, you should see callback URL being provided. Callback. Oh, for some reason it's just not rendering properly. Okay, callback, which is the environment, right? The scope is environment. Then same goes for auth URL. So in your auth URL, you would do auth URL, and then client ID. Scope, you can leave it empty. State, you can leave it empty, and then send as basic auth header. And then you say get new access token. So once you click on get new access token, you should be able to see the same login screen that you had seen before, the Microsoft login prompt where you have to enter your username and password. It doesn't show, it didn't show me because I had already provided my authentication. So it sometimes asks you and sometimes does not. If you're already authenticated, it will bypass that information of asking you again to log in into your Microsoft account. So I can say once it's authenticated, I can use this access token by clicking on this use token, and once and then I can save this collection. So now if I'm doing any request, I can click on this request, say so my environment is gonna have web API URL, and I select that, and then I'm going to say who am I. That's going to be my request, and I can save this. So I can click on save and select the workspace as demo and save inside of demo. And now I can say this is the request for who am I. Okay, now the authorization is inheriting from the parent. So now if I send this request, oh, I forgot this is case sensitive, who am I, and let's save it and send it. There you go, right? So I got the status as 200. I got all the information about me without even writing any authentication over here, because the authentication is done on my collection. So if I go on my collection here, on my demo, if I open my demo, this is where my authentication is all configured. If you have liked this video, then I'm pretty sure that you would like these two videos as well. So go check them out. Until next time.